Today we're going to talk about a case that about a dozen of you sent me and asked me to comment on because it's a wild one. So first we're going to look at the police spin on the case, and then we're going to get some more details to see what seems to have actually happened, and then we're going to talk about the law and whether the police's actions were appropriate. So first, let's go to the police media release, and it says, an individual was charged following an investigation into a neighbor dispute in Simcoe. At approximately 6:02 p.m. on Sunday, September 1st, 2024, the Ontario Provincial Police Norfolk County Detachment responded to a neighbor dispute on Woodway Trail in Simcoe, Norfolk County. It was determined that two individuals were involved in a dispute on the premises, resulting in the victim being physically assaulted. No injuries were reported. As a result, one individual was taken into custody without incident. Charged with the following alleged offense is 58-year-old Wendy Washik of Norfolk County. I might be mispronouncing her name. And the offense is assault with a weapon. The accused is scheduled to appear at the Ontario Court of Justice in Simcoe on Tuesday, September 24th, 2024. Okay, so that's the media release, and it doesn't give you a whole lot of details, but it's a neighbor dispute, and sometimes those can be pretty serious. And it notes an assault with a weapon. So you're probably thinking, did she pull a knife and like take a swing at somebody? Did she throw a rock at them? Did she, hit them with a broomstick, an axe handle? What was this, right? And the actual circumstances are substantially sillier because, as reported by the London Free Press, and I'm going to link that article in the description below, the weapon was apparently a water gun. And I should put scare quotes around weapon for reasons we're going to talk about. But she says, and this is her version of things, she says that she and her family were playing with water guns and that a neighbor inadvertently got sprayed. Now, maybe that's the case, or maybe they actually sprayed the neighbor. I don't know. We'll talk about the law as it applies here and whether assault with a weapon is appropriate, but we can already see this is not the end of the world here. And I think a lot of people heard this story and went, wait, did they solve crime? Are they out of real crimes to work on? And now they're working on the silly stuff? Is this just something to make work so they don't have to fire some officers for lack of anything to do? Because this feels a little ridiculous. Yeah, no injuries were reported. No kidding. Water guns don't tend to result in injuries. But yeah, this is a bit of a big deal. She used to work as an educational assistant with children with developmental disabilities, but she has been suspended from her job as a result of the criminal charges. So yeah, I feel like maybe we're not achieving a whole lot of good if somebody who works with with children with developmental disabilities is being pulled off the job for this. Anyway, the police have defended their actions by saying, and this is a quote, we are committed to maintaining high standards in our investigative work, regardless of how the public may perceive the allocation of resources. So again, that's kind of a reference to the fact that the ordinary person would be like, are there no actual crimes? Nobody's getting murdered in this town? Nobody's, any of that? Okay, cool. I guess we're getting to the silly stuff. Okay. And they say high standards in our investigative work. Okay, so they're proud of the work that they've done here, and we'll talk about whether they should be. He continued on saying, our focus remains on doing our job effectively, ensuring that each case receives the attention it deserves, regardless of public perception. So they're not going to bow down to criticism from folks like me. They're going to forge ahead. Okay, so let's talk about the law. Now, an assault, and in order for something to be assault with a weapon, it has to be an assault. An assault can be made out by the intentional application of force to another person without their consent. And it doesn't need to be a lot of force. If you ball up a piece of paper and throw it at somebody, that can be an assault because that piece of paper bouncing off their forehead can be the application of force. Again, it doesn't have to be a lot of force. But you do get into some public interest questions as to whether it makes sense to charge someone for bouncing a rolled up piece of paper off somebody's forehead. Now, where I think that they are completely out to lunch is with regards to the definition of weapon, because weapon is actually defined in the criminal code. And let's go to that. Assault is also defined in the criminal code, but we're going to look at weapon specifically. So weapon means anything used, designed to be used, or intended for use. And we can break that down. So if you actually do something with it, then that's used for that purpose. Designed is what it was sort of made to do. And so when you think about something designed to be used as a weapon, we can look at, for instance, a shotgun might be designed to be used as a weapon, or a pair of brass knuckles, or something like that. Or intended for use. Intended for use might mean something like I'm carrying a steak knife, and that steak knife wasn't designed to be used for stabbing people, but maybe my plan is to use it to stab people, right? So that's kind of the breakdown. But it has to be used, designed to be used, or intended for use, either A, in causing death or injury to any person, or for the purpose of threatening or intimidating any person. Now, in this case, we can break this down. Do we think that this water gun was designed to be used to cause death or injury, or intended for that purpose? No. We kind of use water guns precisely because you can shoot each other with water, and it's just fun, right? Nobody dies unless you're like the Wicked Witch of the West and you're melting. So the next thing is for the purpose of threatening or intimidating any person. Is somebody going to be threatened or intimidated by the specter of the deadly water gun? I don't think so. So I don't think that this is likely to be a weapon. And this is a very common error people make with Canadian law. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking that a weapon is anything you use to assault somebody. And that's not the case. It's often the case in the sense that if I hit somebody with a baseball bat, the baseball bat isn't designed to be used for cracking skulls, but it certainly works pretty well if you want to crack skulls. But some things just aren't going to be able to qualify. That rolled up bit of paper that I mentioned before is never going to be threatening or intimidating, and it's certainly not going to cause death or injury to a person. So, not everything is a weapon. In this case, it appears that they've overcharged Ms. Washik, and quite frankly, I don't know that this was worth charging her in the first place. You've got a neighbor dispute, they're unhappy about a water gun. Maybe you just tell everyone to knock it off and go back to their respective corners. Now, what kind of punishment is she looking at if convicted? I can tell you that if I was the judge on this one, I would be thinking way low on the sentences. The maximum possible sentence for assault with a weapon is 10 years, but she's not getting 10 years. She's not getting 10 days. Assuming she doesn't have a lengthy prior record, which I find hard to believe given her position, I would expect that she would be getting very little, if anything. And quite frankly, if I was the judge, I would be thinking absolute discharge, which means not even putting an entry on her record, just no punishment at all, other than don't do it, right? That's it. Don't do it. So, yeah, this one feels incredibly silly to me. It would not surprise me at all to find out that September 24th, that the charges might just get withdrawn. We'll see. I'm going to try to follow up on this one as best I can, but Canadian law or Canadian courts are incredibly opaque and make this very difficult. So I'll see what I can do. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you found this one to be interesting or educational. I also want to thank my Patreon supporters, and there's a link to that just below, so you can become one of them if you'd like to. At the $50 level, Purple Dragonair, Cielo, CMP, CCFR, PJs Forever, Canada's National Firearms Association, Bottle Shock and Oz, and the Canadian Shooting Sports Association. And at the $20 level, Mark, Lindsay Metcalf, Larry Kalniak, Kyle Fox, Drunkle of the Baileys, Cameron Johnson, Andrew Elsich, Marvin CZ, and Dorky Dane. Thank you as well to my $10 supporters who will be in the crawl immediately following. Thank you for watching. Hope this is armed with knowledge. See you next time.